Now, the first one comes from Shane, and I'm going to follow it by another one from Deb because they are very similar. So Shane asks, is apologetics not the opposite of what one would find in the one truth? This is a lot of work. And then Deb asks, great website, but is it true? If it was, would you have this website?
Well, let me respond to Shane first, because could you just read it one more
Sure.
time, Shane?
Is apologetics not the opposite of what one would find in the one truth? This is a lot of work.
Okay. Why is science necessary to find the one truth about the world? Because it's a lot of work. So there's a parallel to me. I'm not sure why it seems that why it's somehow a I'm trying to think of the best way to characterize this. Why it would seem a mark against an effort to find the truth that it's a lot of work, because there are a lot of aspects of truth that are important, setting aside religious issues, that are a lot of work. The nature of the task is difficult. What we are looking at here, for example, is do we have reason to believe in God? Why would someone think that truth, if it were true, would be so self-evident that it wouldn't require any work? Now, let me qualify that, because actually, I think the vast majority of theists think that it's so obvious it doesn't require much work. Look around you. Look at the origin of the universe. Look at all the order and the design and the teleology. Things are seen to be made for purposes that even, like the atheist Richard Dawkins claims, the biological world is a complex world which seems to be designed for a purpose, or appears to be designed for a purpose. He'll even acknowledge that. So in the question of God, I don't think is that hard. Well, then why are you apologists working so hard at it? Because atheists deny what seems to be obvious and raise a lot of kinds of challenges and everything that then require an answer. I don't think the conclusion that God exists is a hard one to come to. This is why atheism is extremely rare in the world. And it's not, I think, a matter of massive indoctrination. We have all kinds of different variations of religious views, but virtually all of them entail the belief in an extra material realm, and many of them entail a belief that someone is in charge of both material and extra material realm. This is so completely obvious to everybody that they think it's foolish to deny it. Now, that doesn't mean that the atheists are wrong and all religious people are right in some measure. It just means that that doesn't seem hard to most people to believe in an extra material realm and a God who runs it. That seems to be easy. And there are reasons for that are obvious and at hand. The origin of the universe. Big Bang needs a Big Banger. That doesn't take a master's degree in anything. Doesn't even take a bachelor's degree. It's common sense. Now, that may not be true, but it is a common sense notion. A design needs a designer. Okay? Moral law needs a moral lawgiver. Okay? Well, these are pretty straightforward notions. All I'm appealing to is the common sensibility of it that's accessible to the average person. Now, if somebody wants to say, not necessarily, I got it. Here's how we can explain how you could have morality without God. Okay, fine, I'll listen. Now what we have is a very complicated and counterintuitive explanation from Darwinian evolution. That's what's complicated. Or, design. Well, the reason it looks designed is we just happen to be the universe of an infinite numbers that looks the way it is, that produced us, and now we're there to be able to wonder why it looks so unique. The multiverse kind of, or the weak anthropic principle kind of answer. Well, that's what's complicated, seems to me. And so, if we're going to answer that challenge to the common sense notion, then it's going to take more complication. And I don't think coming to the truth about most things, many things, let's put it that way, is that hard. But if one is going to kind of disqualify the discipline because it's hard, well, then you're going to have to disqualify science and
Hmm.
philosophy and a whole range of other things that are the means of knowing truth that are complex, complicated, hard.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Knowledge is work. You have to think hard. You have to think carefully. You have people making a case for all sorts of things. You have different philosophers and people making the case for the philosophy they think is true, the science they think is true. Richard Dawkins has written many books. Does
Hmm.
that mean what he believes is false? It doesn't follow, but I think there's something going on here where they're putting religion in a different category from all these other
Hmm.
areas of knowledge, and it's just not a fair move. We all understand that people argue for what they think is true and that you have to work to understand and respond to people who object to what you believe.
Hmm.
That's just a simple thing that we see all the time.
I think it is easy not to believe in God if you don't look too closely at the nature of reality. It's easy not to believe in God. Oh, I don't see him, so he's not there. It's a very, very simple, straightforward uh, epistemic approach. I don't see him, so he's not there. I'm not belittling that. I'm just saying that seems to be the way a lot of people who are atheists approach it. Some are much more sophisticated. I acknowledge that. But a lot of times when you talk with somebody who's an atheist, they say, well, where is he? I don't see him. That's what they responded. So that's easy to say that. But it's not easy to say that if you look closely at the nature of reality. Even a marginally closer look um, convinces you that effects have causes that are adequate to the effect. Big Bang needs a Big Banger, you know. So and on and on. Like I said, so tell me what Deb had to say. The reason I paused was because Shane's was more clear to me how to respond. I need to
Okay.
think about Deb's.
So Deb's was great website, but is it true? If it was, would you have this website?
I don't understand that.
I think it's just similar this idea that why do you need a website if it's true? You're obviously just trying to convince us of something false. I think it's just the same kind of principle that it shouldn't be hard work
Well,
to
the counterexamples are atheist
right.
websites.
Right.
There are all kinds of atheist websites. There are all kinds of Jesus mythicist websites. There are all kinds of websites about all kinds of things that purport to give information that's true. Some on the religious issue side, like atheism, would be addressing that question, or other issues. It doesn't make any sense to me to suggest that if you have a website trying to show that something is true, this is evidence that the something you're trying to show is true is actually not true. I don't know how else to take that. And I'm
Mhm.
not trying to be uncharitable to Deb, but I just don't know how to take that.